Welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really, really ticks me off. Well, today we're going to talk about something that makes me very happy, and it is J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion. The Silmarillion, their book discussion. We have joining me today, all the way from the future, all the way from those northern latitudes. It is the one, the only Steve Kenobi.
Hi.
Hello. What's the forecast from the future? How we doing?
Uh, well, the planet's still here,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, it's a bit windy, but otherwise it's pretty fine.
Oh, well, that's better than having no future. That's better than having
Yeah.
no future. We do appreciate that here.
Oh, and for those of you who are wondering where Rennie is, she's in jail again. She decided to make bootleg copies on VHS of the entire MCU. Got caught, tried to hit on a female police officer again, who was not lesbian. So we won't be seeing her for at least a week.
Now, that is fake news. She's good. If you're listening, Rennie, we love you. And Stieg is that may or that's not true. Or if the part about the VHS MCU, that would be impressive if she pulled that off.
Yeah, I wasn't saying anything bad. I was bragging about her.
There we are. There we are. Here first. Well, we have, speaking of friends from the north, we have Snortopoopus Q Burr all the way from his iceberg. Hello, humans and other critters. Yes, hello. We love our animals here at Miss Martin Muses. Hello, Jacob Ironside. Thank you for being here. Best chat ever here at Miss Martin Muses. Shield Wall of Dragons. Hello, hello. Going to be lurking. Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Keck 44, thank you for being here. Always good to see you and good to see everyone and everyone that will be lurking, smirking, and
Burping? It's a Saturday after all.
yeah. I was thinking of a different rhyme, but that's okay. That's just fine.
Slurping?
No, I don't even know where I was going with that. But I do appreciate all my lurkers here at Miss Martin Muses and everyone that will be listening on the replay. Welcome. Thank you for being here and give me a like, share, and a subscribe. A like, share, and a subscribe. I'm up to, I don't know, what, 636? Well, watch me. I will get right to 1,000, and then YouTube will go, oh, we've decided to change the rules. You have to have 10,000. But either way, I would be here because I love sharing what I love, and I do love J.R.R. Tolkien and his fantasy works. I'm really enjoying going through the Silmarillion again and with people where we can help each other out because it's kind of like listening through a medieval history lecture, which by the way I love, but you got to stop, you got to think, you got to take notes, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, the a couple of the chapters we did for today were very holy crap. One of them had a lot of names. I mean, wow. But the middle one was there was a lot of action in the middle one,
Yeah, a
and
whole ton of crap hits the fan.
yeah, and it's we're kind of past the mythological stuff in the book, and we're more over to the history part.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, and we're starting to see more and more familiar faces and more familiar names. Okay.
Yes, first mention of Celeborn, I believe, in
Mm-hmm.
one of these chapters.
And Elrond as well. Yeah. Okay, everyone's saying hi to each other. Bush is saying he hit the subscribe button and it made me unsubscribe. Well, that wouldn't surprise me about YouTube. That wouldn't surprise me one little bit. Well, let's go ahead and let's just jump through the first into the first chapter, which is very short. This is chapter 12, and it is of men. Finally, after talking about them the whole time, the men wake up. Yay! And everyone clapped and applauded. So I'm just going to look through the brief summary here, where it says the Valar turned their attention away from Middle Earth after creating the sun and moon. Ulmo only would still actively intervene on behalf of the exiled Noldor. The sun had an awakening effect on Middle Earth, rousing animals. We love our animals here, so we approve. And plants from the sleep of Yavanna. The years of the sun were swifter and reckoned shorter than the years of the tree. The sun had one more effect. Here we go, awakening the second born, the children of Ilúvatar, known as men or Atani, which means followers in the Elvish tongue. The first men awoke in Hildorian, but none of the Valar were there to guide them. It's like, thanks, but no thanks. For a time, the fathers of men had joy in the discovery of new things and of their new life. Yay! They would eventually find the Avari, those elves who had not went on the great journey. I'm not sure that's good grammar. These elves taught men the first of their crafts and languages. Nonetheless, though they had many similarities, elves and men were different than each other. Elves were immortal, but tied to the fate of the world. They were doomed to remain on Arda, remaining until the end of the world for better or for worse. Men were in Arda only for a brief time before they would leave the circles of the world, for they had the gift of Ilúvatar, which meant that they would eventually die and be released. Yeah, I want to pause here because he outlines like the rules. Like if this were a game play book or a role play game, whatever it is, those books that you have,
Yeah,
Steve.
he's basically listing up the racial traits.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Um, Back when role playing games did that. Um, but yeah, but you know what I mean. So you look up men. It's like okay, men, what can they do? And then elves, what can they do? Let me see. Where is it? Um, yeah, and before I read through that, where the fuck? Oh, pardon my French. Pardon
good
my
grief.
French. Go ahead, T.
No, I was just shocked.
Oh, sorry. I know I shock you with my language. Your pristine ears. Okay, here we go. So here are the elves. So if we're looking up if you're DMing J.R.R. Tolkien's world and you're needing to find their characteristics, this is Tolkien's words. We have elves. No sickness or pestilence brought death to them. Their bodies indeed were of the stuff of earth and could be destroyed. And in those days they were more like to the body of men, since they had not long been inhabited by the fire of their spirit, which consumes them from within in the course of time. So, yay, we know what can happen with elves. Now let's look at the character men. But men were more frail, more easily slain by weapon or mischance, and less easily healed, subject to sickness and many ills, and they grew old and died. So there we are. So those are the rules, and the elves. It's a lot harder to kill them, but it is possible. Whether they can be slain in battle, or in the case of Elrond's wife, they can lose the will to live and fade away. So there we are. Continuing on. Nonetheless, though there. Oh wait, I already said that. Blah blah blah. Oh, and also that men have the gift of Ilúvatar, which means they can also die and be released, and eventually the elves would be envious of them. So the fate of the elves would be, back to the summary, to fade from the world, becoming little more than phantoms or shades. Men, on the other hand, would obtain dominion over the world even after the elves fade away. In the meantime, however, certain men would go west and eventually ally with the Noldor in their futile struggle against the dark powers. So,
It's kind of like the elves. They're immortal, but they do spoil in a sense
hmm,
eventually.
yeah, good point. Yeah. And if you think about it, as much as no one wants to die, already I'm sick of the world and I'm not even, it's like, I'm not even that old, relatively speaking. But I can't imagine 1,000 years of this planet and just seeing how much everyone sucks and keeps repeating all their mistakes. Yeah. Um, I would spoil in spirit, but their bodies don't spoil. They still look really hot and have great hair.
Yeah, they're using Loft L'Oreal shampoo.
Oh gosh. I hate to admit that's a good one though. So hello, welcome to everyone. Hello, welcome to everyone coming into the chat. I do see you. Thank you. We have Damon Gershwin and BC, aka the New Dark Shadow. Yeah, imagine living 1,000 years, you would want to die. Yes. I mean, I'm ready to go off and live in a cave right now and get rid of humanity.
Yeah, and it's only been 2 years.
Yeah. All right, so we finally woke up the men, and I think it is cute that when they rose toward the was it at the first rising of the sun, they awoke in the eastward regions of Middle Earth, but the sun first arose in the west, and the opening of mine was turned toward it. So it's like they woke up and right away were looking into the sun. They were looking into the lights.
Yeah, and then it dawned on them.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So, yay, men, finally they're around. And they weren't singing. So maybe it's just the elves that did that. So Steve, what do you have to say about that? Any thoughts, life-changing opinions from this chapter? Oh, never mind. I'll talk to myself for a second. I just noticed that he is on mute. Well, I'm sure that Stieg would have something very clever to say and something about men and all that. This is a very, very short chapter, short chapter, and just giving us some lore. I was just excited because they finally friggin' woke up. Time Prophet says, hello, happy 20th birthday, Stieg. Ah, yes, he'll be back. He had to disappear for a second. He put on the ring and he disappeared. Have I missed it? I don't know. What are you afraid you've missed? Okay, we have some singing. We have men in tights. Tortopukus Kubur says, the elves taught the men to sing and no one ever got a good night's sleep again. Yeah. Well, it does tell us in this chapter that what was it? They taught them their languages and all that. So maybe they did teach them to sing. Oh, everyone's saying hello. Etc., etc., etc. Well, here we go. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next chapter. We are going to move on to the next chapter, which is a badass chapter. It's of the Return of the Noldor. I love it. It's like it could be an epic title, but the Return of the King, no, of the Return of the Noldor, of the Return of the Jedi, of the Return of who knows, Return of the Noldor. So just in case you thought maybe that things sucked and that we were just going to sit around and read some more about men and they're singing and they're waking up. No, we're going to get back into some serious action, some serious action. And it is dun 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 Feanor, who sucks. We don't like Feanor here at Miss Martin Muses. We do not like him. Oh, well, speaking of which, before we go on, we do have a Dan Blackroyd. I listen as I sleep. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, he is further into the future. Dan Blackroyd is. Thank you very much. Yes. Actually, I am a singer, so I won't sing. If that makes any sense. I would not know how to balance out the sound, and I don't have a studio here. Damien Gershwin says, elves' bodies spoil on the inside. Pro tip, never feed them bacon tip. Oh, gosh. No. Please don't. Here we go. Feanor and the exiled Noldor landed on the beaches of Lamath. I was going to say, meanwhile, or last week on the Silmarillion, and set fire to the ships of the Teleri because Feanor sucks. This burning was seen not only by Fingolfin, but also by the orcs of Morgoth. Ignorant of any danger, Theanor and his followers proceeded up the Firth of Drengist and ended up in Hillion. I love it. We got a whole bunch of names that you're like, what, But I guess you can live without knowing completely what's going on. It was here that they were intercepted by the armies of Morgoth, who sought to drive them back into the ocean. Yeah, we still have our villain Morgoth sitting there twirling his mustache and going, "I will succeed. I
He's
will."
he's a very hit and run villain.
Yes. That's a good point. Yes, and welcome back. People were singing once you were gone, so if you missed it, Sorna Poopus says, "The Noldor are back, and you're going to be in trouble." Hey, la delay, the Noldor are back. There we are. So, Sneak, aren't you
What?
glad that we turned it
I
into a musical?
I don't mind if they're singing. I just mind it when the hobbits are singing near the ring rates.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, we love singing here at Miss Smart Muses. Yes, we do, and we love musical theater. I was about ready to say, wouldn't it be a horrible idea for people to create a musical? But someone actually did of the Lord of the Rings, but that's a whole other story. But good point about Morgoth being a hit and run.
Yeah, because that's what he keeps doing.
Yeah. And then he's like gone for a bit, and everyone's like, "Oh, everything's okay." And then he comes and
Yeah, he's gone for a few thousand years and then comes back with his new army.
yeah. Yeah, so hit and run Morgoth, that's his nickname from here on out. But the Noldor were able to hold back the sorry, were able to hold back the I had some cat interference there, but the Noldor were able to hold back the orcs even though they were ambushed. The Noldor were fiercer warriors than the orcs had reckoned at first, and soon the ambush turned into a rout. Yeah, so we're starting to see a lot of orc action happening. The Noldor moved into Beleriand. Am I saying that right, Steve?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. If I'm wrong, somebody yell at me in the chat. Utterly destroying the orcs. Yay, in their way. The battle would be remembered as blah, 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 blah. The Battle Under Stars, which is kind of a cool title for a battle. If I wanted to have a battle, I would want the Battle Under the Stars. Theanor did not stop and kept
So it
advancing.
was Star Wars.
Oh! Not wrong. I see your comment, Time Prophet. Is it? Where's the lie? Where's the lie? It says Tolkien could at least finish his books because he didn't have the internet and trampolines. True.
Very true.
Route is pronounced root in Britain.
Hmm.
Root.
You were rooted.
Root. Yeah. Well, it depends on the kind of route. If you're talking about route, yeah, like en route, that means I'm going somewhere. If you're routed, it means like you're kicked, your arse is kicked and you're like running and retreating. But I don't know. The Brits know how to speak English. I guess maybe because they invented it. So I will do so. But yeah, we always have to have two names for everything. Because I think they give us like the Elvish name and then they give us the English name. So Theanor did not stop and kept advancing even unto Angband. In his fury, he hoped even to challenge Morgoth then and there and take back his Silmarils, his precious. But orcs were not the only servants of Morgoth. Balrogs issued forth from Angband. Yay! This is one time I actually rooted for the Balrogs because I hate Fëanor. And waylaid him. Even better. And at last, Gothmog struck him down. Even so, he was not dead, and the Balrogs left when his son came forward. He's like, "I'm not dead yet." Oh boy, I loved it. I loved it. I was just cheering for that Balrog. So meanwhile, Fëanor's sons then carried him some distance, but he had them stop, for he knew that his death was near. In his dying moments, he saw that the Noldor could never defeat Morgoth. But this did not deter him, and he commanded his sons to fulfill the fell oath they had all taken together. Then he died. Now, first of all, what a jerk. It's like, I get to nope out, but you have to keep the oath and be miserable and fight and die. So he croaks, and I thought this was very interesting. His body was consumed by his fiery spirit, and it is said that he still remains in the halls of Mandos. Yeah, he turned to ash, and he uh he was blowing in the wind. He was blowing in the wind. Yeah, and was
Yeah, it's uh I kind of he was basically surrounded by Balrogs and while burning, I believe.
mhm,
And then one of the Balrogs got a big damn hit on the guy, right?
yeah,
So I'm like, Balrogs are huge with massive burning swords. I mean, if he gets a good hit, you should be chopped in half.
yeah,
But yeah, uh, I'm guessing the guy was royally messed up.
yeah. You get effed up by a Balrog, it's not pretty.
Yeah,
Maybe the Balrog when he rolled a 20 for the hit, but on damage he rolled a 1.
yeah, it was like critical hit thing.
Yeah. But I was rooting for that Balrog, so it doesn't matter. He did his job, but you're right. So I know I'm sitting here imagining him like Laurence Olivier going, "Oh, I'm dying. Please fulfill my oath." Well, probably.
And then he was so butthurt about it, it turned to ash.
Yes.
That's one sore loser. Makes everyone go, yeah, get him for me. I
Yes.
lost. And then he's so pissed he turns to ash.
Yes. Yeah, and when we were discussing this previously, I had mentioned to you, Stig, about that the Saruman also same thing happened to him.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it's a little commentary on him having destroyed himself on the inside.
Hmm. Yeah,
You know, it was basically all hatred at that point, right?
yeah, yeah. They all cut from the same cloth, but he did go to the halls of Mando. Oh yeah, and going to Hall of Mando is not that's not the same as getting like to go to the west. I think. Um, I'm just trying to think if it was better for Feanor, say, than Saruman, because Saruman
Probably.
sucked really bad. And this is Tolkien's line. Thus ended the mightiest of the Noldor, of whose deeds came both their greatest renown and their most grievous woe.
Mm-hmm. That's a grim thing to say.
I know. But yeah, I love me some Tolkien. I love his that's where like the narrator would come in and
So someone needs to say that if someone's YouTube channel gets demonetized. You know,
no. Oh boy.
the
I don't
greatest YouTube channel has been slain. All has come to woe.
Well, you heard it here first at Miss Martin Muses. Uh, so it says here, then now in Mithrium there dwelt gray elves. So we've seen those gray elves before. Let me see. Do they say here? No. Okay. We might get to the gray elves in a second, but I'm going to continue with the summary because this is a very plot heavy chapter. As they began to expand, the Noldor encountered the Sindar, who had remained behind in Beleriand during the Great Journey. Now, I want to take a pause here to talk about Beleriand. Beleriand was the region northwestern Middle Earth during the First Age. Originally, the name belonged only to the area around the Bay of Belar, but in time, the name was applied to the entire island. So it's up in the northwest, and that's where the elves were hanging out. The book does give a map of Beleriand. So there. The Sindar who had remained behind in Beleriand during the Great Journey. They were enamored with the power of the Noldor, who they believed to be messengers from the Valar. But the meeting did not last long as a messenger from Morgoth came. Once again, here he comes for another hit and run, offering terms of peace to the Noldor. The sons of Feanor were suspicious of this offer. You think? You think by this point they figured this out, Steeg? I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, the guy's done nothing but lie and cheat ever since he was born, basically. So
Yeah,
maybe not believe him that much. He's
yeah,
skeptical.
yeah. And then they're thinking, well, maybe this time. So yes, they were skeptical. Well, I'm really, really glad you're skeptical. Maedhros, the eldest son, persuaded his brothers to pretend to negotiate with Morgoth. However, when they went to the meeting place, the orcs ambushed the Noldor. Really? I'm shocked. Shocked.
Well, basically, both parties brought more troops than they said they would. They were both planning a bit of an ambush, I believe. But yeah,
Oh, well, there you go. And he captured blah, blah, blah. How the hell do you am I saying that right? Maedhros help sounds good
yeah,
to me.
yeah. I think it was Maedhros.
All right, I see those comments, Snortopoopas. I'm gonna come back to them. I've starred them because those are good points. Um, so oh wait, they went to he was captured. Morgoth said he would not release Maedhros until the Noldor left Beleriand, but the brothers were held by their oath, so they did not leave. Check this out. Morgoth hung Maedhros from a pinnacle of Thangranbabadrim by a bond of steel. And
Yeah, he hung him from one arm, which
yes,
which
from
is
a
kind of
volcano.
unusual. You usually, they string him up by both arms, right? But he was, yeah, just one, which probably hurt like hell.
Yeah. Yeah, hell yes. Um that's a time prophet. I'm thinking, is it similar? Are we in the same world as of the Hobbit? Yes and no, if that makes sense, because there's a little more
Well,
to it.
they are at this point
Yeah,
because they're in northern Middle Earth.
yeah. So so they're in Middle Earth, but some of these,
They're northwest of Mirkwood, basically.
yeah. That's why I wasn't sure I quite understood your question there, because if you were talking about before these places get effed up. But okay, what Steeg said. Um, oh, sort of poopus. I do want to comment on your comment here. He's been telling us about where the spirits go. He says bear spirits go to the Hollow Mandos, where they are given honey and biscuit and sent back to keep the seals, walrus, and fish in line. Yeah,
This
we
is
do
true.
approve of everything you do for that.
Bears are honey traps
Oh no, no.
for seals and walruses.
A different kind of honey trap. All right. So this dude's hanging off a volcano by one arm with bonds of steel or whatever. And so at this time, Fingolfin's keep people. Yeah, remember those poor bastards who had to go across basically the Antarctica on shields of ice in the dark with no light. They came
Yep.
out of the grinding ice and came to Hithavilum. Owing both to the rage of Fingolfin's elves and the shame of Feanor's elves, the Noldor soon became divided. Yet Fingon, son of Fingolfin and friend of Maedhros, sought to end the division between the two branches of the Noldor. So he alone went to Thangorabadrim, and climbing its heights, he at last found Maedhros near the pinnacle. He was unable to free Maedhros from the steel bond, and despairing at last, readied an arrow on his bow, crying out to the Valar to have mercy just this once on the exiles. I can relate to that. Like, give me a fucking break. The Valar, they could have been nicer um, and help out, but I guess they don't. Um, but the good news is, I guess finally someone listened. His plea was not in vain, for Manwë had pity on the exiles and sent the eagles to aid them. Just as Fingoff bent his bow, Thorondor, Thorondor, Lord of the Eagles, swooped down from the sky and bore Fingon up to Maedhros. Yay! Fingos was forced to sever Maedhros' left hand to free him. Well, that's not cool. Ouch. Ever after, Maedhros would be left-handed. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. This summary doesn't make sense because if he got his left hand cut off, how could he be left-handed? Unless he was left-handed.
Probably
That's
a
a bad
mistake
joke.
in the book.
It's no, in the summary. I'm not reading the book here. I'm reading from a summary because if we read the book, we would be here 2,000 years. Yeah, let me see what it says in the book. So he was hanging from a tree. I love it. Oh, I should say that Finn. Gosh darn it, where was it? Fingon. He's called Fingon the Valiant. I want that name.
Fingon the Valiant?
Yeah, isn't that a cool name?
Guess so. It sounds like a name you have to earn, though.
Well, I'm Valiant. Yeah. But you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It sounds like it could be like those Conan titles. Conan the Magnificent. Oh, and by the way,
Actually, I think there is a Conan the Valiant book.
oh, well, there you go. Oh, and I'm now looking at the book, Steve, and in the book, of course, they did some singing. He took out a harp and sang a song of Valinor.
Which probably rubbed it in because the other guy couldn't play a harp anymore.
Oh no, no, no! He wasn't playing the harp for them. He was doing it in defiance of the orcs. Gosh. And his voice rang in the mournful hollows that had never heard before aught save cries of fear and woe. So we got a lot of singing. We got let's see. Thus, Fingon found what he sought. For suddenly, above him, far and wide, his song was taken up, and a voice answered him. Because there's something about singing that's very, holy. I agree with this. So after the eagles come. Yeah, it says Fingon cut off Maedhros' hand above the Rith, and Thorondor bore them back to Mithrim. There Maedhros in time was healed, for the fire of life was hot in him, and his strength was of the ancient world, such as those possessed who were nurtured in Valinor. His body recovered from his torment and became hale, but the shadow of his pain was in his heart, and he lived to wield his sword with his left hand more deadly than his right had been. Okay, so he got his right hand cut off. The summary people suck. They made a mistake. And by this deed, Fingon won great renown, and all the Noldor praised him. Aww. So there. We have fact checked. That kind of sucks, though. But I guess it's better to have your hand cut off than to be hanging off of a volcano for the rest of your life. That kind of sucks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just me. Yeah. The deed healed the feud between the sons of Feanor and Fingolfin. Maedhros begged Fingolfin for forgiveness and surrendered him the high kingship of the Noldor. Thus, part of the doom of Mandos was fulfilled, for the house of Feanor would never hold the kingship and would be dispossessed of it. Yes, because you suck. And check this out. Yeah, the house of Feanor were called the Dispossessed. That's Tolkien, because Tolkien has a way. Can you imagine hanging out with Tolkien and, I don't know, you tick him off and the doom he would proclaim upon you?
Oh yeah, he's probably an excellent scolder.
Yes. Yeah, you burnt my dinner. May you forever be called accursed. All right, let me see here. What's going on? What does our chat say? Miss Smart Muses could well be a barbarian. Well, no, I'm very refined. Barbarians don't sing opera.
Well, you do
Um,
put stuff in tea and coffee that's not supposed to be there, so it applies.
yeah. Well, we are going to agree to completely disagree on this. There's nothing wrong with putting what you want in coffee. Hound 3000 needs some hugs. Woof, 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 bark, bark, arf, arf. Oh, hello. Thank you for being here. We love our honey traps. Yes, you do in Norway. Okay. Oh, Time Prophet. I see what you're saying. Oh, gosh. Yes, yes, yes. Silmarillion is thousands of years before this. This is, yeah. Um, that's what they were all saying there. People are rocking, people are rolling. Conan the Barbarian. Yeah, we love our Conan the Barbarian here. I think the Staunch is still available. I'm not sure about that. What about Miss Martin the Intelligent? Oh, well, I'll accept that. I'll accept that
It
as
should be the wise, because
Oh,
that's more Tolkien, isn't it?
yes, Miss Martin the Wise. Except for the fact that the moment you think you're wise is the moment you become unwise. Crap.
Yeah, well, one of the wisest thing you can ever say is "I don't know."
Right. That right there. That right there. Sonora Pupus Kruber says both the Irish and the Norse had a tradition of poets composing scolding poems if anyone annoyed them.
Yep, absolutely. They had bards basically do that.
Yeah. Hey, it's an art. It is an art, and I will always be in favor of that. Okay, so they're dispossessed. Now that they're dispossessed, what is going on? I'm back to the summary, not to Tolkien's words. Now the Noldor were able to lay siege to Angband and surround it from the west, south, and east, and they sent out messengers to the various people in Beleriand to form alliances. Thingol did not trust them fully, being suspicious of the leaders of the Noldor. So, Thingol, by the way, who is he? Remember, he was one of the two kings of the Teleri. He was also the king of Doriath and the greatest lord of the Sindar. He would become a central figure of the First Age, instigating the quest for the Silmaril. So that's who Thingol is. Because sometimes these people will come back that we've seen earlier, and I'm like, who the hell is this?
And sometimes they will come back with their third name.
Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah, and, Thingol did not trust him. Angrod of the Noldor came as a messenger to Thingol, neglecting to inform Thingol of the kinslaying. I think that's an important omission because the kinslaying was like the original sin of the elves. It was bad, really bad. Thingol was pleased with Angrod and gave the Noldor his permission to settle east of Doriath. However, he forbade them to enter Doriath and claimed to be High King of Beleriand. This response made the Noldor mad and created a rift between Thingol and the House of Feanor. Because you know what? I'm starting to think these House of Feanor people, they're really dicks. I mean, they're just nice people.
It's a shit family.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. Let's see. Oh, the chat's talking about the singing, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. So if you had to join a gang, you would not be Team Feanor. You don't want to be Team Feanor. They are all just a shit family, butt hurt, sitting around crying, being a bunch of girls. Thus, at last, the divvying up of Beleriand among the Noldor began. So you got this island, and we're going to get some different places. Maedhros went to the north between the rest of the Noldor and Angband, ruling what soon became known as the March of Maedhros. Carinthir led his people to the Ered Luin and there met the dwarves. I'm not going to use another name for the friggin' dwarves. Okay, there was little friendship between them, but both Noldor and Dwarf learned from each other and traded with each other. Yay! And if I'm correct, I'm going back to my notes on Tolkien's text here. Okay, I love it. The March of the Maedhros, that sounds like that could be like the title of a orchestral piece, like a classical piece.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it'd be cool. Yeah. So, meanwhile, 30 years pass. Yay! Turgon, the other son of Fingolfin, departed his realm of Nevros and sought out Finrod. My gosh, those names. They journeyed together and reached the mirrors of twilight and soon fell into a deep sleep. When they awakened, each believed Ulmo had given him a message to prepare a hidden refuge. Later, when Finrod and his sister Galadriel were guests of Thingol, Finrad became impressed with Thingol's cavern fortress of Menagroth. Thingol told him of the hidden caves of the river Narog and showed him the gorge wherein they were hid. Finrod soon began delving the caves and got the help of the dwarves of the Blue Mountains. Together they created the fortress of Nargothrond. The dwarves also made a beautiful piece of jewelry for Finrod called the Naglamir, a carcanet of gold, jewels, and many jewels from the Valinor, whose worth was beyond price. Finrod would gain the title of Felagund, hewer of caves. That's a cool name to have. I hew caves. What do you do? Galadriel, though, did not go to Negroth because she was in love. And that was something else that you mentioned earlier, Steve, that we're going to see the first mention of Celeborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. And it says here, I'm now reading from Tolkien, that she stayed because there dwelt Celeborn, kinsman of Thingol, and there was great love between them. Therefore she remained in the hidden kingdom and abode with Melian, and of her learned great lore and wisdom concerning Middle Earth. Because Galadriel is like a big old wise woman. We love Galadriel. And this is, of course, the man that's going to be the one that she marries and has all those kids with. And let's see, just want to go through the chat here. Sam Prophet says all these names sound like Roman origins. Well, probably. And all of that. Yeah, everyone's Googling. Yeah, that's one thing that these books do. They help. And I encourage Googling. Yes, we do. We encourage Googling here at Miss Smart Muses. And I think that anytime you can have a look at the Silmarillion about the backstory of Galadriel, it's very nice for me to get a little bit of a refresher for no reason whatsoever. But go ahead and learn about the real Galadriel, if you will, and her story and what she's doing and how she does it. I think that is a good thing. As for Turgon, he returned to Nevrest, but soon Ulmo himself appeared to Turgon, and he led Turgon to discover Tumladen, a hidden vale in the encircling mountains. Turgon soon began planning a hidden city to be built in the vale. But meanwhile, Morgoth was not idle because he has to do another hit and run, and he raised another army of orcs. When 60 years had passed, this new army issued forth across the plain of Ardgalen, smashing through the land held by Maglor. In the end, it was for naught, as Fingolfin and Maedhros were prepared. They fought back and soon destroyed the army in what was known as the Glorious Battle. So we have the battle under the stars when we have the glorious battle. So Steve, you're right. He just keeps coming back.
Yep. Yeah, it's. I was thinking that when I was reading it, and it was like, yeah, he keeps showing up with an army and then taking a poke basically, and then running away. Then he goes
Yeah.
back and rebuilds.
Yeah, he reminds me of a soap opera villain. I used to watch Days of Our Lives, and there was a character named Stefano. You would always think he would be dead, and like the actor was really just going off doing something else, and then he'd come back and ruin everything, and they'd go, "Damn you, damn you." So that's the way people were with Morgoth. Meanwhile, and then after this setback, how many friggin' setbacks can Morgoth have? Morgoth was besieged in Angband by the Noldor, but the Noldor were unable to capture Angband or take back the Silmarils. That's the other thing. That's the surprise. And they could not cut Morgoth off in the north due to the Iron Mountains. So, what are we going to do? His spies thus were able to go among the Noldor, and Morgoth soon learned of the various feuds between his foes. And that's also his other trick, is pulling a warm tongue or getting his spies, getting his little birds to go about doing that. The siege of Angad began, with Morgoth never fully beaten, but not being able to end the siege either. He first tried to attack Fingolfin via the northern route, but his armies were destroyed by Fingon. Thus, Morgoth realized that orcs alone would not be enough to defeat the Noldor. You think? 100 years after, the first dragon, Glaurung, attacked the Noldor, guarding Angband's perimeter. However, because he was not full grown, Fingon and his cavalry were able to beat him back, but they did not slay him. So, orcs aren't enough. Let's get some dragons. But he had to wait 100 years. These people were very patient. Thus, the long peace came, and both the Noldor and the Sindar prospered. The Noldor were mighty in arms and works of craft, but the Sindar were great in songs and words. Yay! Yay, the Sindar! So, that's that.
Yeah, well, we had we had a maiming and a death.
Yeah. Everyone loves a maiming. I mean, that was brutal. I still like, dang. Well, also the whole, being hung off a volcano also doesn't sound like fun.
Nah.
So it also shows that the elves, they were petty little bitches too. They weren't so perfect and superior the way they came off, especially to the elves and to the humans and the dwarves later. Yeah. Well, any other thoughts about this chapter? I think we.
No, it had some important events. Feanor croaking being the the biggest one.
Yeah. I still just feel so good about it. I mean, it's been very rare that I just love a killing, and that one was just it's like you jerk. But what a little bitch. Then making his family keep it going. Like, love you too, Dad. Love you too.
Yeah.
All right, before we move on, I had started some comments that Snortopupus had said about the elves when we were talking about what happens to them after he died, and he has some good information here. So let's start with the first one. When elves die, their spirit go for a time to the halls of Mandos, and then they're reunited with a new body, which seems to be like the old one. Okay. So it's like the same but different.
Yeah.
When elves, in some cases, like Glorfindel, they even return to Middle Earth. But Feanor was never released from the halls of Mandos. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
because he,
basically permanent death in a sense.
yeah. Well, he certainly didn't earn the right
It's,
to.
it's like he's in purgatory.
Good point. Yeah, yeah, because the halls of Mandos are not. Uh,
The
the beatification.
Glorfindel death is actually foreshadows what happens to Gandalf later on in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, you're correct. You're correct. It see, it all fits. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then the third comment from Snortopupus Cooper: men's spirits go to the halls of Mandos and are held there until the end of days, or so it is said.
which is a bit like Norse mythology. You go to Valhalla until you're called to fight the final battle, which is the end of days, Ragnarok,
Oh.
which is the battle they're gonna lose.
Okay. Is that bad that they lose though?
That's just that it's supposed to happen. It's the
Oh,
twilight of the gods, right? All of them. It's Ragnarok. What George Martin based the Song of Ice and Fire on.
yes. Yeah, and for those that follow along with that, that if you look at a lot of that Norse stuff, especially Ragnarok, it's believed that that will unlock the direction that the books will go if he ever finishes them. Steek has talked about that on another channel, and it's pretty cool. Zax, hello, good morning. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone that's coming in. I do see you. I do see you. Thank you. Let me see. I think that's everyone. I think that's everyone that's been coming in. All right. There's really not much more to say about this. It's action heavy. I do love the appearance of Galadriel. Like anytime we get any little snippets of her, because we know that she's ancient, we know that she's old, but I love seeing them talk about it because I like Galadriel. She's pretty cool, and we know that eventually she will get to go to the west after she kind of effed up in all of this. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's move on. But I'm sorry. I have one more thing I want to say about this chapter. That as the Sindar, this is looking at the last words in Tolkien's words. Some of the gray elves still wandered far and wide, and they sang as they went. Yay for the gray elves.
No wonder Morgoth's pissed and tries to kill them all the time.
Nice. Yeah. They like to sing, but at least they don't dance. We don't hear too much about dancing from the elves, do we? Just singing and playing the harp and having nice hair. All right, let me go ahead. I'm going to change out our banner. And what do we have? It's going to be of Beleriand and its realms. Now, this is a little bit some info dumping, and this is where there's a big old map that goes along with it. So if you're following around at home, maybe you want to have a look. Beleriand and its realms. ITS realms. Because here at Miss Martin Muses, we use proper grammar. All right, so here's what the summary says. The northwest regions of Middle-earth were known as Beleriand. This was the realm to the east of the Blue Mountains and Eriador. In the days before the awakening of the elves, Morgoth had built the great fortress of Utumno and a secondary forest called Angband. Yes, we know that served as the outpost of his realm. Both of these fortresses had been destroyed by the Valar. Yet when Morgoth escaped and returned to Middle-earth, he raised anew the fortress of Angband and made it even stronger. Morgoth raised 3 mighty pillars of slag called the Galadriel to cover the fortress. He also delved great tunnels and pits into the earth, where his armies were uh, would grow, and great smithies would forge weapons for them. Yeah, as Sort of Poopa says, geography, yes. To the west of Angbad was the realm of Hithlum, or I'm not going to say all these names. The Land of Mist in Kenya. I'm going to stick with that. The Land of Mist. For it was called this due to the great smoke Morgoth created when the Noldor first came to Beleriand. This was ruled by Fingolfin. His son Fingon received the rule of Dolormin. The region became known for its horses and its cavalry. To the west of Hithlum was the land of Nevrast, ruled by the other son of Fingolfin named Torgon. This was a land circled by mountains and hills. The land itself was wet and had many marshes. Torgon's halls were in Vinmar. To the south of Ardgalon was the highland of Dorthorma, the land of forest ruled by Angrod and Agnor, 2 brothers of Finrod Felegund, who served as his vassals. The Tower of Minas Tirith, manned by Finrod's last brother Ordeth, was in Tol Siran between Dor and the Shadowy Mountains. Now, just the name, don't confuse the name with the actual place that we know and love. But, yeah. Wow. Yeah, this chapter was pretty heavy on, so here's this and here is that. To the east, of Doriath was the territory of the sons of Feanor in East Beleriand. So all the douches went to East Beleriand. This region was cut in pieces by the river Gelion and its tributaries. In the south, 6 rivers broke off it, giving the region the name of Orsiriand, the land of the 7 rivers. This was the home of the Green Elves, who had never left Beleriand on the great journey. This land would later be known as Linden in later days. To the north of Osiron was the land owned by the sons of Feanor. Maedhros owned this northernmost territory that was closest to Angbad, for it was a flat and open area that was vulnerable to attack. This would be known as the March of Maedhros. His capital was a fortress named Himring. Maglor, his brother, guarded the territory to the east, where there was a gap in the hills. Celagorm, or Celagorm, and Curufin would be rulers of the land to the south of Aglon. Caranthir ruled the land along the river Gelion beside the Blue Mountains, and here he would have dealings with the dwarves of Nogron and Belagrost. Finally, Amrod and Amros controlled the southernmost part of East Beleriand on the western side of Gilead, and aren't you happy you know this?
Yeah, this is important.
This is life-changing. Yeah. Not the most exciting chapter I've ever read. I did like, though, that we had Círdan the shipbuilder still hanging out there. We got to see an appearance of him, so that was good. And let's see. Is there anything else? I don't think there's really anything else between here and there. You got the Green Elves, and there's a mention of Baron and Luthien, but since we don't really have their story yet, nobody cares. So I would say this is probably not the most exciting chapter ever.
No, it's basically just I don't know, placing people on the map chapter thing.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, you can see, where everything is, but I mean, after that very plot heavy chapter, this was like, okay. So that's that. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and take down the banner. So, today we didn't have a lot of material to cover because we basically had one chapter that is really intense, and then the rest is kind of geography and a little bit of lore about the men. I think there was one point about the men that I didn't bring up, which was, I'm looking in my notes, that the dude who controls the water, Elway or Elmo or whatever his name is, that he would sometimes try to maybe kind of communicate and help out the men. But, since men didn't quite get it, they just kind of knew that they really liked the water and they thought it was all chill and awesome. But they didn't know why. Like the men just didn't know. They had an instinct about all these things that we're talking about, but they weren't given to us. Oh, there she is. Thank you. Olmo. Yes, it is Olmo. I keep wanting to call him Elmo, and I know I'm going to
She
slip
she
up.
always says Olmo when she wakes up. It's just a thing. She wakes up and goes Olmo.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so whenever we see water and stuff happening in The Hobbit and in Lord of the Rings, that there is a connection there with him, though they don't know that connection exists. Oh my gosh, Rennie says, tickle me Olmo. Tickle me Olmo. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the chat, Rennie, but Stieg made some serious allegations against you and what you
No,
were
I didn't.
doing.
I was explaining her absence and why it was awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, everyone's tickle me Olmo. Oh yeah, Jinx. Looks like they're jinxing each other. Everyone's saying hi. Say oh no. Some say oh no. She say Olmo. Oh yeah. Oh no. Yes. Yeah. Apparently, you need to do better at figuring out who's a lesbian cop. You keep making that mistake. Okay, so that's that. I'm looking at for our homework for next week. Of the Noldor in Beleriand. You see, I'm thinking we're gonna have some lore heavy stuff. So let me see. There is an action piece of the coming of men into the West. So we get a little bit of that, and we'll skim through of the Noldor and in Beleriand and the other chapters. So friends and neighbors, we're going to be doing chapter 15, 16, and 17 for next week. And we get to see some of our friends. Again. So that's that.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
And I will just be spending the rest of the week smiling when I think about Feanor. Yeah, that little bastard. Yeah. Snortopupus Gruber says there are male lesbians. They're from Lesbos in the Aegean Sea.
Yeah, they can get pregnant now too.
Yeah. They can do everything a woman can do, so now it sucks to be a woman again, but I digress on that one.
Imagine getting constipation and thinking you're pregnant.
I don't even know what to say to that because a lot of thoughts are coming through my head, but they're probably not appropriate to all sorts of things. Because even though I am not a biologist, even I know that a few things have to happen to get pregnant. And just saying. And usually those conditions are not being met. So all I can say to everyone is I want to say thank you, as always, for being here. You all are great. You all are helping and you participate as we go through all this. Thank you, Snortopupus. We have Rennie coming in, Damien, Boosh, thank you. Time Prophet, thank you. Let me see. We had Zax, I know, made an appearance. We had the dog, Woof Woof, Hound of 3000. And let me see. I don't know if I'm missing anyone. It's I sincerely apologize. It's this we had a lot of people in, and I do appreciate everyone coming in and help it out. Um, and lots of comments on constipation. Yeah, we don't talk too much about constipation here on Miss Martin Muses. No, we do not, precious. All right, so Steve, where can we find you?
Um, on this channel on Saturdays, and Mara's channel most Wednesdays.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. And you'll find me also here on Miss Martin Muses, where we're going to be going through the Silmarillion. And then, see, what's my thing for this week? Oh, this week, the triple review will be returning, I believe, on Wednesday. We haven't yet decided on a date, but it will be during the daytime. Usually it's the daytime, the early afternoon Central Time here in the United States, and in the early evening for you all who live in the future. We're going to be doing the trilogy of Indiana Jones. We're going to be doing Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and the Holy Grail. Or the final, whatever the hell the title of it is, The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tune in for that, and everyone, thank you for being here. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain just to nuke Morgoth from orbit. Don't try to negotiate with that bastard.
And don't sell VHS